So, first question here: did the implementation partner deliver the project within the agreed upon timeline and budget? No
Yes,
worries.
Clutch was able to deliver the project both on time and within budget. I would say that at the outset, what we had done is set out a very specific set of guidelines and expectations with Clutch and with Matt, who was our principal consultant, to kind of lay out the milestones of what we were looking to accomplish through every phase of the project, so that at the end we would be able to complete on time. And I think that what was very valuable and a little bit different is that whenever we began to either deviate or lose momentum or lose focus, everybody at Clutch is very upfront about that and honest about how it was affecting progress. And they were able to kind of realign us and kind of reinvigorate us so that we can kind of stay on track and move forward and see ourselves crossing those milestones.
How well did the partner understand and address your industry specific challenges?
I would say that because Clutch has a very wide range of expertise, both in business and very niche and specific industries, they had a lot of ideas that were both best practice that could be kind of molded and applied to fit our business because we are very specific. We have a very niche industry as well with a very deep set of expertise and requirements. So it's not just that they were able to understand our business, but having a lot of experience in different industries and different businesses was able to bring a lot of different and new ideas and different strategies for us that we necessarily wouldn't have had exposure to otherwise.
What was the quality of the implementation team's expertise from Clutch and their ability to customize the Kinetic ERP application to your specific needs?
Clutch has a very, very deep bench of resources that they work with, from dedicated SSRS report people to interface people to BPM people. So not only were they be able to take a concept for what we had that necessarily wasn't fleshed out or was maybe a manual process that we wanted to digitize, they were able to kind of take the tools that are available to us through Kinetic ERP in terms of customizing screens and the logic in the background for how the system interprets different data, and build something that's both repeatable and scalable. Because those are two things for us that were really important, is that not only that we move into a system that was able to grow with us as a business, but something that would be very repeatable long term as we continue to grow.
How effective was the partner's change management and training approach during the implementation process?
Change management, I would say particularly, was at a very high level. I think one thing that Clutch does very well that I think that maybe some other organizations might not do is documentation, because a lot of these types of changes, especially when it comes to implementing systems, have a lot of different layers to them. And it's easy to get turned around and have things be talked about in a scoping process, but not necessarily make it into a final product. So for us, we were very pleased to see the level of organization and thoroughness and follow through, both from Matt and from Clutch. And when it came to training, I think another thing about Clutch that is incredibly valuable, that would set them apart from another consulting organization, is it's not just as simple as doing training for an end user so that they understand how to use the system. What they did a little bit differently is that they made sure that at a conceptual level, at the base, that we understand how Epicor works and how the system works, so that not only were we able to troubleshoot on our own and be self-serving, we would be able to then take that and be a little bit more self-serving when it comes to how do we address a situation that we necessarily haven't run into before, and then continue to develop those tools internally for us to use as an organization.
Did the implementation result in tangible improvements in operational efficiency, data accuracy, and decision-making capabilities?
Absolutely. Throughout the project with Clutch, we set some specific objectives that we wanted to achieve, not just in the ERP, but as a business. And then we developed with Clutch and with Matt some metrics to measure them and to measure the progress, so that we could make sure that all of this different change that we were affecting was actually having a positive influence on the business. Because at the end of the day, the objective is to grow and to become more efficient, to become stronger. So we were able to do that in strides when working with Clutch. And in a very short span of time, we were able to grow our on-time delivery as an organization from 30% to over 90% in the span of about 90 days, which for us was absolutely life-changing and made us a much more responsive and capable organization.
Can you describe what the process looked like to do that on-time delivery improvement?
Yeah. So what we had done in working with Matt was go through a couple different activities where we really dug down deep into the nitty-gritty of how our manufacturing operation works, down to the amount of time it takes to make a specific widget and the amount of steps it takes to get from point A to point B. We had set up a very manual way of laying out the schedule visually so that we had something to continue to operate with that we could then take and replicate in the ERP. So we had, our two-dimensional schedule board where we were moving jobs along, which is great, but we have to figure out how to translate that into a system that's able to then do that calculation on its own, because we know as humans, how long something's going to take and what the next steps are and what happens when something gets tripped up. So we were able to take that and then begin to replicate it in the ERP, along with some custom dashboards that Matt had developed for us with some of his developers that allowed us to prioritize the different types of work that we have at any given period of time. So we could look at things through different lenses and have different ways to prioritize things that we wouldn't necessarily have done otherwise. So it allowed us to see things that maybe would have started to drift into that realm of becoming close to becoming late or close to becoming, past delivery time. And then we started to work from the bottom up. So we worked from the bottom of manufacturing to then go backwards up into the front end process, where we started to look at, okay, how is that demand coming in from customers? And then how do we align manufacturing to that so we can be as proactive as possible?
Can you describe the level of support provided during and after the implementation, including responsiveness to issues?
I would say that Clutch is incredibly organized and incredibly responsive. The types of implementations like an ERP require an amount of resources that generally go above and beyond what a business would typically need to, function day to day. So it's an all hands on deck kind of operation where it's not just a couple of people in a room that are making decisions on behalf of the entire company. It's a group of people that are trying to affect change across the entire organization. So there are questions that come from manufacturing, from sales, from purchasing, from finance that all need to be answered, but they all need to be answered kind of at the same time. And because Clutch has all of this different expertise as part of their team, there's a bunch of different avenues for us to get answers to questions that we might have. And I think that, when it comes down to us having an issue, there was never a circumstance where we were waiting on somebody from Clutch to get back to us so that we can move on. We were always able to ask a question and get an immediate answer, but not just get an answer. We were able to get an answer that, again, kind of made us understand at the base level how something works from a process standpoint and also from the system standpoint, so that we could move forward, not just saying, okay, this is the way that it works, this is what we need to do. We also understand why we need to do it, so that in the future, when it comes to training other people, we're able to kind of have that same organizational knowledge that we can share with other people. So it kind of makes us a little bit more self-serving as an organization and continues to make us more effective.
Were there any unexpected challenges during the implementation, and how did the partner address them?
I would say that there weren't any unexpected challenges at any phase during the implementation, because we had done our due diligence with Clutch in the beginning to set out a very specific set of guidelines and milestones and things that we wanted to accomplish, so that in the event of some circumstance that may have been foreseen, we had some sort of contingency plan for it, and that we were regularly talking about these things along the way to make sure that there weren't going to be any of these unexpected circumstances or challenges that would crop up, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road during an implementation.
How has the Kinetic ERP system scaled with your business since implementation?
So initially, our company had come from a very legacy system that required a lot of manual maintenance, a lot of manual data entry for it to operate, and it caused a significant amount of inefficiencies for us as a business, because the majority of people's day-to-day would be just managing data, doing data entry, doing data maintenance, doing upkeep. So what we had done with Clutch was build a system that was repeatable and was scalable, so that when we continued to grow, it wasn't an exercise of, okay, now how do we do this? It's already been planned for. We built a system that could basically scale as fast as our business was able to scale.
Would you choose this implementation partner again for future projects, or would you recommend them to others?
Yes, absolutely. And we actually continue to use Clutch as the sole consultant for our business, because consistently they've been able to show that they are incredibly knowledgeable, not just about best practices in different industries, but also how to implement those kinds of things in a systematic way that's both scalable, that's repeatable, and also look at some of those best practices and figure out which parts of them fit our business and which ones of them wouldn't. I think if I look back to where we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and compare it to where we were now, we are a completely different business. And I have to say that that is 100% thanks to what we've been able to do with Clutch and what we've been able to do with Epicor.
When engaging with Matt and Clutch, how well did they interface with all levels of your organization, from the executive team all the way down to the end users?
I would say that because Matt and because Clutch has the amount of experience that they do in all different aspects of different businesses, they're able to tailor answers and explain things in a way that both people all the way at the top and the person at the shop floor that's doing whatever job is assigned to them in a way that both that they understand and be able to do an effective job with. And we're incredibly professional in every interaction that we had with them, regardless of if it was an intense argument, between philosophical different ways to do things. They were really good at listening to all of the different sides of why we would want to do it this way versus that way, for conflicting opinions for how things should work in the organization, and then add some context for why you might want to do it this way versus another way. So I think that when we kind of look back to the overall scope of the project and the result that we ended with, it's something that at every level over the organization, it's something that we're all proud of, that we worked on and were able to put together.
And lastly, what advice would you give a company considering this implementation partner for their ERP project?
I would say that you have found your implementation partner with Clutch Consulting. Don't make the mistake of going with another implementation partner.